We will stand
From the Destiny Islands, welcome your host, Dan!
When you think of Warhammer 40k, you typically think of just the lore, the video games, or, of course, Henry Cavill. But a lot of people don't think of one specific race in Warhammer 40k. And thanks to a very, very fun content creator, WarBoss MADSAM, we are able to dive a little deeper into the Orks of Warhammer 40k. But not only that, also what it's like to play at local hobby shops, what it's like to travel and play at tournaments, and of course, why she got into Warhammer 40k. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, support both the guest and Crash City, and enjoy this episode. First and foremost, $1 million question here. Why Warhammer?
Oh, man. Okay. So I live in a house with 3 teenage boys. One belongs to me. And I was told about Tacticus, which is a mobile game.
Okay.
And, they were playing Space Marine 2 also on the Xbox, whatever. But they were talking about Tacticus and how they were getting good at Tacticus. And, well, my mom plays and she's in my guild. And we know you don't play because you don't do video games. And I'm like, actually, I used to before I had to spend all my time cleaning up after all of you. Things like that. So long story short, they goad me into it and I start playing it and I'm like, sweet, okay. And then it was, well, my mom's better than you and her coworker and this and that. And I was like, bet, kid. So I had to be the best. So I became the strongest in the guild and the highest level. And then then I was like, okay, I'm done with this. But I went to get models for a birthday. And that's when I decided I was going to buy my first set of orcs. And then when I went to go and look up anything about the orcs, I couldn't find good information online. So then, of course, I had to find it and then get it to everybody else. And here we are.
Okay. But so you've been a nerd your entire life is what I'm kind of getting at.
Yes.
Fair enough. Why just solely Warhammer though? Like most people when they start content, they do have that thing, that niche or something like that they stick to, but they talk about other things. I couldn't really find anything. I looked and it's a lot of Warhammer. Why is that?
Well, so I started out like making a couple of silly videos and diving into the orcs. And then I could not find any good information at all on the orcs. I found everything on the Space Marines, anything you could ever want on the Horus Heresy that children tried to tell me about. And I'm like, you guys are not making sense. So I decided, well, if I'm going to be researching this anyway, I'm going to get the actual books, the actual codexes and lore, and then I'm going to share it so that other people getting into this know and have the actual information, not just some AI script somebody made, right? Which is super common. And so I went and I started buying all the old school books and everything. And primarily it's just because this became my little obsession. And then I decided to drag everybody with me.
That's usually how it works though, is we always find that one thing and then we always just bring our friends into it and force them no matter what.
Exactly.
It's cool to see the fact that you pick such a niche group in Warhammer, because when you see a lot of different Warhammer creators, they're mostly focused on like the Space Marines, or I believe they're called the Tyranids or anything like that. It's when I tried looking up more stuff on the orcs, you're right, there's not a whole lot. So why, again, making yourself like the ambassador for these guys and continuously doing it, are you just doing it for the bit at this point? You're just like the world's going to know.
Yeah, that and so I've loved orcs forever anyway. They're my favorite fantasy race, hands down, orcs and goblins. So it was really easy for me to get into them. And then I loved their backstory. And I had several friends try to get me into Warhammer and tell me I would love the orcs for since high school. And I was like, nah, like Warhammer's a little too much for me. Like, but I played D&D and stuff like that. So like how silly is that, right? At the end of the day. But it got to the point where I was like starting to study them, and then I had all these questions no one could answer. And so I found all the old lore and I started tying it into like actual science with my Orkology series. And I was like, this is starting to make a lot of sense. And now I can like come up with theories and ideas and stuff on like all of these answers that we don't have, because historically the orcs were kind of just like the comedy relief of 40K, but they're so much deeper than that. And they're like, so then it was like, oh, Armageddon's coming back. The orcs are getting a revamp. And I was like, well, can't quit now.
And this is it. Like, this is your hobby. This is what you love. Is there anything else? Like, what other things do you do? Or are you just completely like, I will let the world know about the orc?
Right now, I'm like super invested in Warhammer, but I'm a very avid reader. So I used to read like 53 books a year, like a little over a book a week.
Okay.
I love like fantasy, sci-fi. I grew up in a house where I watched Star Wars and Star Trek. I grew up playing Exalted and D&D. Never really got into magic. But I do like the cards, right? I like to collect things. I have a collection of crystals and I have skulls, believe it or not, a collection of skulls and things. And so this kind of fits into everything that I do. I also work for a paint manufacturer. So like I know a lot about paint and how it's made and the chemistry. So I can actually assist people, maybe not in how to paint well, but things that would work together or why they might be having a paint failure or something like that. I have a lot of various other hobbies, but right now I'm just like hyper fixated on Warhammer.
And how long have you been doing content?
So, Warhammer content, actually, I'm almost coming up on my year anniversary. It's on Saturday.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That is cool. And yeah, like I said, you've amassed let me look again, 24,000 followers on Instagram in less than a year.
Yeah, I started Instagram actually way later than I started TikTok. Across all platforms, I'm just around 60,000. Which some of the followers are the same, but not really all of them. They're definitely very different across different platforms. But yeah, I started Instagram and Facebook way later on, and the orc color science videos are the ones where people really started following me. Was when I was like, "Hey, I bet you didn't think there was real science behind this, did you?" And like explaining what colors do and why we perceive them in certain ways based on light and everything else, which is a paint thing, right? Um, and that's kind of where it's grown from there. So I've maintained a lot of these longer videos. I'd imagine I'd have more followers if my videos weren't significantly long, because they don't get pushed out as much. Like if it's over 3 minutes, they don't show it to new viewers. So typically speaking, like my following kind of grows a little bit here and there, but I probably should do some more short form content if I want to reach more people.
That is awesome, because a lot of creators that I'll talk to don't even look at it like that analytically. And for you to even say that you understand the reason why certain videos aren't getting pushed out, that's pretty fucking cool.
Yeah, and honestly, like I'm doing it for the love of the orcs anyway,
Mhm.
and my followers like those long form videos. Like they want to sit there and listen to me rant about orcs for 10 minutes, which is great because I'm going to do it anyway. But like, so of course I want to reach more people, make more friends, get more followers and stuff, but this is like a fun side hobby for me. It's not like my income or anything like that. I'm doing this just for the love of it, and I think that's why it's been so much fun and easy to do for this long.
Oh yeah, and then even like on YouTube, I mean, what, 2.3K is what you've gotten, and it proves it right there. The longer videos that you have do really, really well. Uh, I I would have never thought of it that way, of explaining color and explaining all of that. And it's crazy how, like, you work for a paint company, you love painting miniatures, all that kind of thing, just culminated and meshed well together.
Right, it all tied in. Actually, one of my top viewed videos on TikTok has like 57,000 views. It is 16 and a half minutes long, and I'm just teaching people how to use a wet palette.
Really?
Yep.
I'm gonna show my partner that.
Yeah, it's 16 and a half minutes. It's very long.
I'm gonna still make her watch because I think that'd be hilarious because she's into coloring right now. That's her big hyper fixation. So,
Oh, sweet. Yeah, I kind of went through that during COVID.
oh hell, it's it's cool just to be able to talk to people that, like you said, it doesn't pay your bills, it doesn't do anything. You're just doing it for the love of the game, and I think that's something that a lot of people, when they want to get into content, they immediately think of how can this give me financial freedom or anything like that. And it's just for the love of the game. It's just doing it. And again, you picked such a obscure thing, such a niche thing. It gives people, or at least it should give people that hope, like, hey, I can pick something, and as long as I make it my own, it could work.
Yeah, and just like be yourself and anything that you're passionate about. Like people love to see other people passionate and excited. I have several followers from different factions that don't play orcs or even intend to. They just like my spin on things. And how I'm ridiculous about it or when I'm laughing or something like that. Like lately, going over the squigs, I've been cracking myself up in my own videos and I'm just not even editing it out. Like I'm letting everybody laugh with me. That's the kind of content I enjoy too. Like when people are trying to push it for money, it's very apparent and obvious. And it's just disingenuous and it's not as much fun. So I think it's a lot better if it's something that you actually enjoy.
And I want to talk about that. You said that you have people in your community from different factions. How have you been approached by the Warhammer 50K community? Because I know it looks like it's a lot of love, but we never get to see the bad side for creators, and everybody has it. How do you how has that come across? Has it been mostly good? Has it been a mixed?
Well, so you have to be following me on Instagram to comment on my stuff, and same with Facebook. That's where I was getting like early on, like the most negative comments were actually on Facebook. And I have like creator care mode turned on to TikTok. But what's funny is when I go to check those comments that get filtered out, most of the time it's people like talking in orc speak. It's not even anything negative. Which is so funny to me that it's like, "Oh, nope, this is bad," and it's just them talking like orcs, which cracks me up. Most of the stuff that I've gotten actually is, "Oh, she's just gonna post an OnlyFans link at some point. Oh, stop thought culture. Oh, whatever," and it's just because I'm a woman, and I'm like, "Whatever, man." Like, I understand that, they could be angry at people infiltrating their space, but the larger community, most people are awesome. And you're gonna get those negative comments no matter who you are. I've seen it on men's posts. The ones that are really popular, the ones that are more conventionally attractive, those guys tend to get a lot of like hate and stuff like that every now and again. I just don't even give them the opportunity because I don't care. Like, you can say what you want, my guy, but I don't care. Like, who are you? Um, you're not paying my bills. I'm paying my bills. Like, I have a legitimate job. I'm just trying to have fun. And if you're not here to vibe with me, like, you don't have to watch my stuff. You could block me and never see me again. I don't need to read your drivel, right? So, it happens to everyone. And you just, sometimes a comment will get to me a little bit. And I'm like, ooh. And I'm like, nope, we're not saying anything. We're just gonna, walk away from it and ignore it. Um, Other times I might have something to say, but typically speaking, I just don't give it any power. But 99% of everybody's awesome.
You're so much better than me. I love it. I thrive in it because it pushes the algorithm. Please keep commenting horrible things because I'm just going to play along with it at that point, or I'm going to antagonize them just because I want it. I want 100,000 comments if I can of just the meanest things because it'll push it and it'll make The algorithm will make the post be like, oh, cool. Everybody needs to see this. Yes, do it.
Yeah, I know. There's been a few times where I'd be like, you wouldn't be able to afford my OnlyFans if I did have one.
Damn.
I'm sorry. I'm too expensive for you.
Damn, that's wild. It's fun. I mean, that is a part I think that a lot of people don't take into is the negative, but if you can turn it or if you can make it fun or funny, kind of like a comedian that has to deal with a heckler, just don't give it power or kind of single them out and it'll stop, but also it'll help the algorithm and just push your stuff.
Yeah.
Could you, and I'm very worried when I ask this, could you teach me a little bit about the orcs?
Yes. I could teach you so much about the orcs.
Well, we got a good amount of time, so I want to know why you like them. I want to know a little bit about their history, about the faction. I'm giving the floor to you.
Sweet. Well, why I like orcs as a race in general is because, and this is probably why most people actually like orcs, like deep down, they're very tribal in no matter if it's D&D, no matter if it's World of Warcraft, they're tribal. They value strength, right? Strength of character, strength of will, strength of body, etc. And it's kind of like that unending horde that I'm going to chase down this goal no matter what. There's no fear there, right? They're not afraid to die. They're not afraid to go to battle. That's what life is about to an orc, right? Is fighting for your resources or whatever it is. They're always fighting for something, but they typically have a good reason. Um, and so with that, I think that people can draw strength from the orcs as a race because again, like they are, especially in Warhammer 40K, they are biologically engineered for war. That's what they are made for. They were created. And so because of this, that's all they know. It's instinct to them. And so they're out there doing exactly what they were designed for biologically. So they're having a great time. Like as an organism in the world, getting to do everything that you were designed to do, which is part of the reason why humans are depressed anymore, right? Is because we don't get to just make art and play and sing and dance and stuff like we were designed to do. We're going to work and going home, going to bed, whatever. But so orcs have that freedom, right? And they're the only ones having a good time. And anybody else would tell you this, talking about Warhammer, the orcs are the only ones having fun. And they really are, because they're literally doing exactly what they exist to do, which is to fight. There's a lot of common misconceptions about orcs. One of them is that like they're evil, but they're not fighting or trying to force you into any sort of doctrine. They're not trying to torture anyone. They are not going to fight a child or an elderly person or an injured person. That's not a fight to them. It's not about killing the guy necessarily. It's about the fight. And that's why Ghazghkull, he's the prophet, the main guy, right? He's been bored and depressed and frustrated. And this is why he keeps going back to Armageddon, is because he cannot find a fight big enough for him. Sure, is an entire army probably something that he couldn't defeat on his own? Yes, but it's not about the army. It's about is there a single entity that can match me, that can make it hard for me to win? And so they want that bigger struggle, right? If orcs are fighting humans and Tyranids invade the planet, they're going to go after the Tyranids because they're the bigger fight, right?
Yeah.
And that makes them really interesting because people be like, oh, they're evil. They do this and that. And it's like, well, no, I can explain from every scenario that you're reading about them in Warhammer why the orc acted that way, right? They're like, oh, in this one, they killed a child. Well, they thought that child was a grot. Those orcs didn't understand how human biology works, right? But later on, as they discover this, thanks to the Blood Axes, that's a specific clan, one of the top 6, they learn about like humans and how we grow and stuff, and they realize that, oh, a child is not a threat, and they're not even trying to fight me. They're weak, pathetic little beings. That's not a grot, right? A grot is a smaller orcoid species, but still very, very lethal. So we don't give them enough credit.
Okay. Okay, so this is cool to hear. Like I'm thoroughly interested. This is badass. So they just do it for the love of the game. That's it.
Yeah. Yep. They're just fighting to fight because they like it and it's a challenge. They want the biggest challenge because as orcs win, they get bigger, right? So they grow. Only orcs. The squigs don't, the grots don't, the snotlings don't. But orcs, as they fight, they get bigger, stronger, and smarter. So as they're growing into like a boss knob or like the big boss or the war boss, typically by that time, they've developed way more intelligence. They start using tactics. They start understanding low Gothic and being able to learn and speak to other factions, to other races, right? And that's where you start seeing these orcs, and the more orcs that are around, right, the faster they learn and the more knowledgeable they become, which is why you're seeing so many more knowledgeable orcs now in the stories where you're like, oh, wow, they're very intelligent and that should terrify everybody because then they're not just fighting, running at you with a chopper. They're planning. And that should be absolutely terrifying to everybody because they can't really be matched in brute strength except by like a space marine.
So what are what do you call them? The squonks?
Squigs?
Oh, the squigs.
Squonks. They are an orkoid species. So there's Snotlings, Squigs, Grots, and Orks, and they're all part of the same kingdom, right?
Okay.
They are a self-sustaining biological weapon, basically. They reproduce through spores. They're technically genderless. They call each other the boys and stuff like that. That's just like a joke. It's not like, it has no meaning other than that. But so the squigs are used for literally everything. They have squigs that grow hair that they can like attach to their body because orcs are hairless. And then they suddenly have hair or a beard or something like that. They have squigs specifically for eating. They have squigs for riding on. They have attack squigs. They have a squig for pretty much everything, every purpose. And the snotlings tend to the squigs. Snotlings are a smaller grot, basically. They're a tiny goblin. And they were actually originally the brain boys who were intelligent and ran the entire race. But they stopped being able to like cultivate this very specific mushroom that made them intelligent. So they kind of like regressed, right? So the big strong orcs took over. But they use squigs for literally everything. It is wild. And then they were engineered this way so that no matter where they go, they have food, they have oil, they have fuel, they have everything that they could need to just take some scrap and fight. Squigs feed off of the refuse from what they call the drops, it's basically like an orcish outhouse. So the squigs eat off of the orc droppings, the orcs eat the squigs, the orcs then feed the squigs. Like it's this whole self-sustaining ecosystem. It blows my mind.
Are they? Okay, that's wild. So I'm looking up pictures of squigs and like there are some that look like pigs and then there are some that look like sharks. What is real and what is not?
No, so there are attack squigs, right? It looks like a two-legged pig with giant gnashy teeth, right?
Yeah.
It's red.
Yeah.
Okay, and then the bigger one that kind of looks like a shark, maybe has a metal plate on its forehead.
Yeah.
So that is a it's like a larger version of the attack squig. It's a mount. And the beast snaggas will ride those guys into battle. And sometimes, like, if their legs get torn off, they'll, like, replace it with a wheel or, like, a bionic leg. Like, the squig just gets upgraded kind of like an orc would. And so there's several different levels. But that's, like, basically a giant version of an attack squig as a mount for the orcs to ride on.
And you actually go to tables and you play with these?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't
What was that?
I don't run beast snaggas. I have them. I run bomb squigs with my commandos though, which is basically an attack squig with like a landmine or a stick bomb that like runs in and blows people up.
How do you eat? Oh, I I don't even know like how that game would be, because you're going up against somebody who probably has like Space Marines, and he's like, tactical, and it probably is serious because he's playing with the Space Marines, and then you're playing with Squigs.
Yeah, but your Squig has armor piercing abilities. So like your Squig Hog boys, they also have what's called feel no pains. And so so orcs feel pain differently than human beings do, right? It's basically like their body being like something's wrong, but they don't feel it as drastically like we do. So like you could rip off its jaw or its arm and it's still coming at you until you put it to the ground. And so those attack squigs, those big giant beast squigs, those are basically like a living tank. And they are pretty much just as strong and they can pierce through armor. So, and the orcs have, trucks and buggies and all sorts of other things and other squigs for different varieties also. But those beast snaggas, like, those will wreck you, dude. Let me tell you. Like, if you know how to play them, they destroy.
So, other than earlier, you said that orcs were used as comic relief. People tend to misconstrue them as being evil. When you go and play, is it very common to see another orc player, or is it not?
It's super common where I'm from. There are several orcs here.
Okay.
In my area. Now, like, it really depends. I saw quite a few at the Tacoma Open. I saw way more Tyranids than anything. But like orc players are the cool thing about orc players in Warhammer is like they're widely known to be like the least serious and the most fun, because orcs can be really, really deadly, but they're also not known for their marksmanship. So they can, like, if you don't roll really well, you're just getting wrecked, But it's part of the fun of the game. And so orc players, they'll call the Waaagh, they'll yell it really loud. That's how you get some bonuses to what you're doing. Where it can reduce like how high you have to roll for certain things and it has various other applications. But orc players are fun and they're known to be fun and a little bit more relaxed, a little less serious about the game, right? They're there to have a good time. And they're typically really easy to approach and talk to. And I think it's because the race has been so ridiculous and fun that it kind of just attracts the people who are playing for the fun of it, right?
Yeah, because it sounds really fun the way that you explain this. It sounds silly, and like you can, when you're playing the game, because at our local game shop, I would see a lot of the Warhammer 40K players play, but they took it super serious. Is this just like Army D&D to an extent?
Yeah, kind of. Like, you can play with like a story background. Like there's different versions of Warhammer, right? So there's like the fantasy side and there's Kill Team, which is smaller game, more strategic. There's the Warhammer 40K, which we're talking about. But I have noticed that, like, so some people do take it very seriously, especially at like a tournament and stuff, right? You could win a trophy, your name gets put on a board, right? You get numbers, you get to travel places. Of course, people are going to take it seriously. At the game store, it's a little bit more relaxed, but some of the people do take it very, very seriously. I have not yet run into an orc that's not just out there playing to have fun. Which I really like. You don't play orcs to win. They're not the meta. I mean, they're getting pretty beefed up with 11th edition. But you play orcs to have a good time. My last game, one of the local guys who does Kill Team and plays orcs is walking me through and making sure I understand how the game works. I was going to really dive in at 11th edition because I didn't want to like get too invested in 10th before they started changing all the rules and
Yeah.
everything, because they were going to do it within a few months, right? So I was like, well, I'll play here and there, and then I'll start taking it real serious once the codex comes out. So anyway, we're sitting there and he's like, oh, there's no way you're going to win. You better roll 2 6s. And I roll the dice and I get 2 6s. And he's like, how the heck did you do that? And every time he'd like call me out like that, which was multiple times in the game, I would roll really high. And so I fumbled my way through to winning simply because Gork and Mork were with me, like to the point where everybody else in the game store was like, it's because she's the war boss, you know, the gods are with her, and yelling Waaagh and getting involved in it. That was a blast. And I cannot wait to do that again because, man, I'm hoping those dice keep rolling well for me, let me tell you.
This sounds super fun. And like I said, I've experienced a different way than what you've gotten to play with. It seems like it's a fun game for people to get into. How expensive is it?
So when people talk about like the expensive hobbies, the way that I look at it, first of all, I'm not your average person who spends apparently only $250 a year on your hobby. If you want to get into Warhammer to play Warhammer and you focus on how the game plays and everything else, and you build 1,000 point army, right? Um, it's not that bad. The startup is the most expensive because you need like the snips for the sprue, you need glue, you need paint, and then you need models. Once you've obtained all of that, you just get more models. Um, I don't personally think it's overly expensive if you're just wanting to play. And, you know, then it's like, oh, for my birthday, I would like this set, or for Christmas, this one, or, you know, oh,
Mhm.
I have a little extra money this month, I'll go and buy another one, right? But like where Warhammer gets expensive is when you're like me and you're like, I am going to play orcs and I like the orcs and I like every single one. And now I need them all because I can't stop. And then I can make whatever army I want because I have all the models, right? So then if I decide to change the detachment, I can just bring different models with me. And that's how you get to where I'm at. And I don't even want to disclose how much I spent on Warhammer in the last year because it's ridiculous. But at the end of the day, you know, it's really not too bad to start up. There are definitely more expensive hobbies, but the main thing about the hobby is that you get like, okay, I get building hobby time, I get painting hobby time, and then I get the game. So you get a whole bunch, and then those models you can keep playing with. So like you don't like play one game with them and then they're retired, right? You can keep playing, and even if you like they change the edition and they release new codex, you can still find people who will play the former edition with you, right? With
Uh-huh.
those rules and everything else. So it really just depends on you and how obsessive you are. If you are like me, it's very expensive. If you're not like me, you know, it'll cost about the same to get really set up in D&D. You know, when you I mean D&D, shoot, if you buy all the books, right? That's a hefty payday. You know, so it just kind of depends. If you're the type of guy that's like, I want the big giant Titan Knights, well, that's a very expensive model because it's very large. So,
That's insane. I love that you actually admitted to it though, that you were like, I want them all. But
yeah.
I get it. I mean, like I said, you when you came into the call, I was like, I'm sorry, I'm buying magic cards. And those are not cheap either. So I get it. I understand. And you're right. It comes down to just how you want to play the game and how invested are you going to be. But I do like that you said, well, you have painting time and you have this. And then by the time that you play, your investment has already kind of paid for itself.
Right. Yeah. The amount of time and enjoyment that you've gotten out of it, right? Like a model for me, because I like to really detail my painting. You know, building doesn't take me very long, and it's actually my favorite part of the process. And then you prime it. When I go to paint, it will take me over 6 hours to paint one miniature. And so that, like, if you start breaking it down, the cost by like how many hours of enjoyment, it's really not bad. And like I said about the collecting all of the orcs, my friend X Oh My Goth, she wants to get all of the Tyranids also. And both of us had the same argument. Well, other people were like, well, that's expensive. And we're like, we're not worried about that. We want to have the option, right? I want to be able to go into my cases and go, okay, today I'm playing, you know, Warband and I want to run, you know, vehicles. Let's run Speed Freaks. We'll do vehicles. Or I want to run Warband. So I need my Commandos and I need, you know, 30 boys and Ghazghkull. And I can change out how I want to play my army because I already have the models. Whereas if I didn't, then I have to go and buy them, build them, paint them, and have them ready to go.
You know how intimidating that sounds? Like, in general, is like, yeah, no, I have to have them all so I know exactly what I want is wild, which is where I am with Magic decks. I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna bring like 7, and I just when I get there, I'll know exactly which one I want to play. But that is intimidating to hear because I see people, or I've seen people roll up with I can't think. I think it's Milwaukee, the Milwaukee um interchangeable carrying cases.
Yep.
People are putting those in there, and I'm like, that's insane to me.
Yeah. Yeah, there's people bring a lot. Like for tournaments, you have to kind of submit your list beforehand. And that's how they keep it fair, so that you're not looking at who your competition is and going, "Oh, they're bringing this. Well, I'm going to bring this very specific thing that is extra strong against it." It
Mhm.
keeps you honest and it keeps it challenging. But, like, when it comes to, like, just playing for funsies and stuff, like, you know, um, will I eventually get to a point where I understand the gameplay well enough that I know what detachments of orcs I wanna run against any other army? Yes. I am dedicated and obsessive enough that I will do that work. Um, but at the end of the day, like, if I'm just going into the hobby shop, I'm just gonna bring my favorite models to use most of the time. Like, and I've already kinda determined some of the play style that I like and some of the actual, like, models I like to run and how I'll want to run them in a game, and if I lose, it ain't that deep, man, because orcs don't believe in losing, so
So, like, when you're playing, you know, do you just play along to the orc lifestyle and you just go in a little bit? You'll have one group just go in a little reckless, the other one stays back. Like, how do you play? How does a game really work when you're just playing for fun?
so for me, honestly, like, orcs are most deadly in melee. So you wanna get as close to your opponent as possible because that's where you're going to be the strongest. Um I've learned recently that with the Weird Boy, I can jump my commandos to an objective and they can hold that pretty well. And so I'm like, well, if I run 2 Weird Boys, I can jump 2 detachments of commandos and start farming points on these specific objective areas. And then I can run my big killy guys through the center to kind of protect around those objective points. Commandos, their rules are interesting. The amount of space that they have before you can see them to hit them and stuff like this. It's good. I still run my orcs up as fast as possible. And you can tell like people who, maybe haven't played orcs or who play like against them or who play an army that's also really melee focused because they're going to run right up into you and you're like, excellent, you've fallen into my trap, right? um Most of the time when an orc is struggling, it's because it's against an army that's really good at shooting, and if they can see you and aim at you and you can't really do anything to them because again, orcs, you have to roll really well for aiming because they don't shoot very well.
So some of these, because I'm looking up like the actual figures for these, some of them not bad prices. Others, oh my god,
Yeah.
that's you know what?
Like which one?
I saw the Def Coptas, which I thought was kind of that's awesome for the orcs, I believe, and that's 69. And then I saw the giant knight things.
The Stompa or
Yeah,
the Gorkanaut? Yeah, I have a Stompa. That thing is crazy because it has a giant saw blade arm. And like you look at it and you're like, okay, it's got rockets, it's got a big gun, like it's probably a really shooty. No, you want to get that thing up close and personal. It can walk over terrain. It's so big and it can carry 20 boys in it. Technically, like they're not actually inside of it, but you know what I mean.
yeah.
And for the sake of the game. But that thing, like you get that up close and personal with somebody and you roll really well and you can annihilate like a bunch of gets at once because you're rolling for like all of it. And you can shoot and utilize all of your weapons as long as you're within the appropriate like range, right? If you're too close, of course you can't shoot. But um for example, Ghazghkull has a claw, right? And a big gun. I took out 4 models in one swing just because he was close enough and he had a long enough reach to be able to hit them all, and I rolled high enough. So I killed 4 of his guys in one go with one character, right?
Yeah, this
Um,
absolutely sounds like D&D, but this sounds like the reverse. You're the DM just absolutely just beating the shit out of your table, and I love it. This is awesome.
y yeah, it's so fun. So it's basically a, like, I go, you go war game. There is some strategy to it if you're really trying to win and stuff, but if you go in just to play a game and you don't care if you win or lose, you can just be chaotic and funny and let the dice play the game for you. Oh my gosh. That's why I love it so much. Like, and that's why orcs are great, is because it doesn't matter. And you get the right models out there. You get a pain boy, you can bring boys back, put them back on the table. Um, there's several really cool options. And there's like multiple options like that in other armies as well. Like everyone's got their good, good, bad, and ugly, right?
Yeah.
A weird boy, for example, you can jump right up pretty much close to your opponent with a detachment of boys. And the weird boy has deadly demise because he's psychic and too much energy makes him explode. And so you kill the weird boy, he blows up, he probably kills you too. So
I just saw one that is $2,000 and it's not even the full kit.
what is that? Is that the old Gargant?
It's called Mars Pattern Warlord Titan Body.
Oh, the Warlord Titan, that's not an orc model.
No, but that's still insane.
Yeah,
That's
that thing is massive. It's a toddler.
that is one that I will say is wow. That is insane because it is like 3,000 yeah, 3,000, almost 3,000 altogether. Okay.
Yep. Yeah, that thing is gigantic. It is literally a toddler. It is huge.
Have you
And that's
seen
like
it?
for your yes, yep.
Okay. Cool.
Some people really like their knights, man. Like there was my buddy Deadshot, he just did I can't remember what they called it, but at their Warhammer store, they brought in like 3 Titans, and then everybody else brought in various tanks to take the Titans down in a big, massive bloodbath of a game. I love those styles of games. There's one called Tanksgiving, where like it's just like a full battle royale and everybody brings in their tanks and stuff. And that was the first game I ever played, actually, and I brought my Stompa.
So when you got into this, because you said you got into this for your teenager, um, at any point, did you actually think you would have gotten this far by just learning a little bit?
No. I would sit at the dinner table and they'd all start talking about it and my eyes would gloss over and I'd be like, "All right, I've heard enough."
Okay. Okay,
Yeah,
that's
had
fair.
no idea. Yep, but the books are amazing and the lore is super cool and the game is really fun, but I also like my game store, my Warhammer store, the people that live here that play Warhammer are just really cool people, and I actually like hanging out with them, which made it even better, and my Warhammer store manager, Travis, is, like, the coolest guy ever, and he really made it, like, an enjoyable experience for me, so I was like, "Oh, this is happening."
And it's cool to hear that. Like, I like hearing people who are passionate about what they care about. And, now I'm learning about Warhammer, so I'm gonna start looking at the Warhammer Magic cards because those are real. And,
I have some.
of course you do. And it's just cool. Like, it's an interesting thing, and when I see it from where I am, a lot of people take it serious. It could be, I don't wanna say intimidating, but it can look like, "Okay, cool, this is probably something I'm not gonna be into." But it is fun to watch and see when a game starts, when people are saying they're attacking or when the figures are moving closer to each other. It's fun, it's war. I mean, it's just war, that's it. So it's interesting to watch. And from your perspective, you know, is there anything that you would hope that would come out? Is there anything in lore that you hope would come out for Warhammer?
Oh, bro, yes. I want more Squig models. There's, like, 50 different unique Squigs in Warhammer, and they're so funny and ridiculous, and I'm like, "You guys could add this to the tabletop game." Um There are several like war bosses that I want more info. I want more books, man. I want more books by like Nate Crowley, Justin Woolley, those guys that write the orc point of view books. Um, Denny Flowers did really, really good books, and Mike Brooks. Like those guys' books are amazing. Like I really got into them. They're very entertaining. They're comical, but they're also like just interesting.
Okay.
Um, so I want more books, like, I want more merch, dude. They released an orc plushie, and I was freaking thrilled. I was like, my middle school, high school self, who just loved orcs in general and didn't know Warhammer, would be freaking out right now to get an orc stuffed animal. Like, where do you ever see that, you know? They're missing out on so many great opportunities, and I know people would totally eat it up if they had it, right?
Yeah.
Um like I want more like interesting new stuff, like, you know, merch especially, books especially. And so I'm like, I'm going to share this lore with everyone and get people to read these books so that they like are convinced that they need to pay these authors again to write more books for me cuz I want to read them. So I'm going to push this book, you know. That's like the big thing that got me. It's just like the lore, and I want the show. I want the show.
To have orcs.
It needs to have orcs. Otherwise, Henry Cavill and I need to have a chat.
Well, do we even know what the show is gonna like? What primarily the show is gonna be? Because I've heard two different versions. One where he's going to do kind of like they did. What's it called? Next Level, where they
Secret
did
level?
or Secret, yeah, where they did that, and then I've heard another one where it's actually gonna be kind of in the Halo style of live action. So do we know any like, especially you, because you're more into Warhammer? Do you know for sure what it's gonna be about?
I have no clue. But what I'm really thinking they should do is like story based. So because there's so much, like Warhammer has like over 700 books or some crazy number, with like the Horus Heresy being like over 50 books alone. And then there's several ones for all the different factions. I would hope that they would do like shorter seasons or like spin-offs of just like, you know, here's this particular story, right? Within
Yeah.
all of this that's going on, we're going to branch off and we're going to show what's going on over here. I'd imagine, I don't know, I think that orcs would sell really well. I think Tyranids would sell really well. I think that they might go for like the Tyranids or like the Heresy or something like that, but they may take it in a totally different direction. One thing I do know about Henry Cavill is that he cares about, you know, it being lore specific, like it matching and not deviating, which I can appreciate as somebody who actually really loves like the story of Warhammer. But I have no idea, and I'm just like waiting for every update because you better believe I'm watching that.
No, it'll be awesome when it comes out. I definitely will be messaging you too and being like, "Hey, have you watched this?" And I'm gonna believe that you've already binge watched all of it by the time it comes out. But the moment it
Yeah,
comes
maybe.
out, you will have binge watched it all. But as we begin to wind down, where can everybody find your socials?
I same handle, WarBoss MADSAM, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. I was most active on TikTok at the beginning. I am definitely more active on Instagram now than anywhere. But I do post like regular posts and updates on Facebook, like here's the models I'm painting. We did, you know, we built some care packages for some EOD Marines because my following's really cool and they love to support stuff like that. Um, Occasionally I'll do giveaways, but I do them specifically for that one social so that the people there can get involved in it and it doesn't like branch out super far. I'll do different ones here and there. Um, but I typically post the same videos on all the socials. It's just people that follow me on YouTube don't see my stories. And that's where people get to know me a little bit more as a human. Because I'll post all sorts of stuff in there.
Well, that's awesome. Again, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it. You got me into Warhammer. I just wanted to sit down and hear somebody else talk about something that they're passionate about. Thank you again so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for letting me be here to chat at you.
I appreciate you. And to everybody else, We will see each and every one of you in our next adventures. Bye, guys.
That was this week's interview. Obviously, you had to have loved it because you stayed towards the end, and we really appreciate that. But please hit the subscribe button. Like, comment, even share. Helps me and helps my guests. And if you want to stay here a little bit longer, we have previous weeks where we interviewed some of the most best people on this planet. Plus, you can head over to the Crash Pad where you can see me, Erebus V, and it's bacon. Just mark out on some wrestling, whether you want to get into wrestling or already been a fan for years. Come and see our reactions. You never know what you're going to get.